this is Naganeethu. Here I'm going to present on the topic Corporate Social Responsibility under Companies Act 2013. Objectives of this presentation is to understand what CSR is, evolution and the phases of development of CSR in India, applicability and activities of CSR under Companies Act 2013. Introduction. Social responsibility is an ethical theory that an entity, be it organization or individual, has an obligation to act to benefit society at large, and it is a duty every individual has to perform so as to maintain a balance between the economy and the ecosystem. Corporate social responsibility is one of the newest management strategies where companies try to create a positive impact on society while doing business. There is no clear cut definition of what CSR comprises. Every company has different CSR objectives, though the main motive is the same. Corporate social responsibility is a form of corporate self regulation integrated into business model. CSR policy functions as a built in, self regulating mechanism whereby a business monitors and ensures its active compliance with the spirit of law, ethical standards, and international norms. CSR is a process with the aim to embrace responsibility for the company's actions and encourage a positive impact through its activities on the environment, consumers, employees, communities, stakeholders, and all other members of the public sphere who may also be considered as stakeholders. This concept rests on the ideology of give and take. Companies take resources in the form of raw materials, human resources, etc., from the society. By performing the task of CSR activities, the companies are giving something back to the society. Ministry of Corporate Affairs has recently notified Section 135 and Schedule 7 of the Companies Act, as well as the provisions of Companies Rules 2014 CSR Rules, which has come into effect from 1st April 2014. Definition of the term CSR. The term CSR has been defined under CSR rules, which includes but is not limited to projects or programs relating to activities specified in the schedule, or projects or programs relating to activities undertaken by the board in pursuance of recommendations of CSR committee as per the declared CSR policy, subject to the condition that such policy covers subjects enumerated in the schedule. This definition assumes significance as it allows companies to engage in projects or programs relating to activities enshrined under the schedule. Flexibility is also permitted to companies by allowing them to choose their preferred CSR engagements that are in conformity with the CSR policy. Few other definitions are, according to United Nations International Development Organization, corporate social responsibility is a management concept whereby companies integrate social and environmental concerns in their business operations and interactions with their stakeholders. According to the World Bank, corporate social responsibility is the commitment of business to contribute to sustainable economic development, working with employees, their families, the local community, and society at large to improve the quality of life in ways that are both good for business and good for development. According to World Business Council for Sustainable Development, corporate social responsibility is the continuing commitment by business to behave ethically and contribute to economic development while improving the quality of life of the workforce and their families as well as local community and society at large. Evolution and phases of development. The evolution of corporate social responsibility in India refers to changes over time in India of the cultural norms of corporations, referring to way that businesses are managed to bring about an overall positive impact in the communities, cultures, societies, and environments in which they operate. The fundamentals of CSR rest on the fact that not only public policy but even corporate should be responsible enough to address social issues. Thus, companies should deal with the challenges and issues looked after to a certain extent by the states. Among other countries, India has one of the most richest traditions of CSR. Much has been done in the recent years to make Indian entrepreneurs aware of social responsibility as an important segment of their business activity, but CSR in India has yet to receive widespread recognition. The history of CSR in India has its four phases, which run parallel to India's historical development and has resulted in different approaches towards CSR. The first phase in, in this phase, charity and philanthropy were the main drivers of CSR. Culture, religion, family values, tradition, and industrialization had an influential effect on CSR. In the pre industrial period, which lasted till 1850, wealthy merchants shared a part of their wealth with the wider society by way of setting up temples for a religious cause. Moreover, these merchants helped the society in getting over phases of famine and epidemics by providing food from their godowns and money and thus securing an integral position in the society. With the arrival of colonial rule in India from 1850s onwards, the approach towards CSR changed. The industrial families of 19th centuries were strongly inclined towards economic as well as social considerations. However, it has been observed that their efforts towards social as well as industrial development were not only driven by selfless and religious motives but also influenced by caste and groups and political objectives. The second phase. In this phase, during the independence movement, there was an increased stress on Indian industrialists to demonstrate their dedication towards the progress of the society. This was when Mahatma Gandhi introduced the notion of trusteeship, according to which the industry leaders had to manage their wealth so as to benefit the common man. Gandhi's influence put pressure on various industrialists to act towards building the nation and its socio-economic development. According to Gandhi, Indian companies were supposed to be the temples of modern India. Under his influence, businesses established trusts for schools and colleges and also helped in setting up training and scientific institutions. The operations of the trusts were largely in line with Gandhi's reforms, which sought to abolish untouchability, encourage empowerment of women, and rural development. The third phase had its relation to the element of mixed economy, emergence of public sector undertakings, and law relating to labor and environmental standards. During this period, the private sector was forced to take a back seat. The public sector was seen as the prime mover of the development. Because of the stringent legal rules and regulations surrounding the activities of the private sector, the period was described as an era of command and control. The policy of industrial licensing, high taxes, and restrictions on the private sector led to corporate malpractices. This led to enactment of legislation regarding corporate governance, labor, and environmental issues. However, the public sector was effective only to certain limited extent. This led to shift of expectation from public to the private sector, and their active involvement in socio-economic development of the country became absolutely necessary. In 1965, Indian academicians, politicians, businessmen set up a national workshop in CSR aimed at reconciliation. They emphasized upon transparency, social accountability, and regular stakeholder dialogues. In spite of such attempts, the CSR failed to catch them. The fourth phase, in which Indian companies started abandoning their traditional engagement with CSR and integrated it into a sustainable business strategy. In 1990s, the first initiation towards globalization and economic liberalization were undertaken. Controls and licensing system were partly done away with, which gave a boost to the economy, the signs of which are very evident today. As discussed, CSR is not a new concept in India ever since their inception. Corporates like the Tata Group, the Aditya Birla Group, Indian Oil Corporation, to name a few, have been involved in serving the community. Through donations and charity events, many other organizations have been doing their part for society. The basic objective of CSR in these days is to maximize the company's overall impact on the society and stakeholders. CSR policies, practices, and programs are being comprehensively integrated by an increasing number of companies throughout their business operations and processes. Companies have specialized CSR terms that formulate policies, strategies, and goals for their CSR programs and set aside budgets to fund them. These programs are often determined by social philosophy, which have clear objectives and are well defined and are aligned with the mainstream business. The programs are put into practice by the employees who are crucial to this process. Applicability of this doctrine. Section 135 of the Companies Act provides threshold limit for applicability of CSR to company. That is, net worth of the company to be 500 rupees 500 or more, turnover of the company to be rupees 1000 crore or more, net profit of the company to be rupees 5 crore or more. Further, as per the CSR rules, the provisions of CSR are not only applicable to Indian companies but also applicable to branch and project offices of the foreign company in India. CSR Committee and Policy. Every qualifying company requires spending of at least 2% of the average net profit for the immediately preceding 3 financial years in CSR activities. Further, the qualifying company will be required to constitute a committee of the board of directors consisting of 3 or more directors. The CSR committee shall formulate and recommend to the board a policy which shall indicate the activities to be undertaken, recommend the amount of the expenditure to be incurred on the activities referred, and monitor the CSR policy of the company. The board shall take into account the recommendations made by the CSR company and improve the CSR policy of the company. Local area. Under the Companies Act, preference should be given to the local areas and the areas where the companies operate. Company may also choose to associate with 2 or more companies for fulfilling the CSR activities, provided that they are able to report individually. The CSR committee shall also prepare the CSR policy, in which it includes the projects and programs which is to be undertaken, prepare a list of projects and programs which a company plans to undertake during the implementation year, and also focus on integrating business models with social and environmental priorities and process in order to create share value. The company can also make the annual report of CSR activities, in which they maintain the average net profit for the 3 financial years and also prescribe CSR expenditure. But if the company is unable to spend the minimum required expenditure, the company has to give the reasons in the board report for non-compliance, so that there are no penal provisions attracted by it. Activities under CSR. Few such are eradicating extreme hunger and poverty, promotion of education, promoting gender equality and empowering women, reducing child mortality and improving maternal health, combating human immunodeficiency virus, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, malaria, and other diseases, ensuring environmental sustainability, enjoyment, enhancing vocational skills, social business projects, contribution to the Prime Minister's National Refund Fund or any other fund set up by the central government or the state government for socio-economic development, and relief and funds for the welfare of the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, other backward classes, minorities and women, and such other matters as may be prescribed. CSR under Companies Act 2013, Section 135 of the Companies Act provides provisions applicable to every company having net worth of 500 crore or more, turnover of rupees 1000 crore or more, net profit of rupees 5 crore or more during any financial year shall constitute a corporate social responsibility committee of the board of directors consisting of 3 or more directors, out of which at least 1 director shall be an independent director. The corporate social responsibility committee shall formulate and recommend to the board a corporate social responsibility policy which shall indicate the activities to be undertaken by the company as specified in Schedule 7. recommend the amount of the expenditure to the incurred on the activities referred, and monitor the corporate social responsibility policy of the company from time to time. Fourthly, the board of every company shall, after taking into account the recommendations made by the Corporate Social Responsibility Committee, approve the corporate social responsibility policy for the company and disclose contents of such policy in its report and also place it on the company's website, if any, in such manner as may be prescribed, and ensure that the activities are included in corporate social responsibility policy of the companies are undertaken by the company. Fifthly, the board of every company shall ensure that the company spends in every financial year at least 2% of the average net profits of the company made during the three immediately preceding financial years in pursuance of its corporate social responsibility policy, that the company shall give preferences to the local area and are around it where it operates for spending the amount in marked for corporate social responsibility activities. Further, that if the company fails to spend such amount, the board shall in its report specify the reasons for not spending the amount. Conclusion. Although CSR has certain challenges in implementation, yet it is an important aspect of the corporate world. I think that today, more so than ever, corporate responsibility is the best strategic as well as financial path that most businesses can follow. For most businesses, there are both compelling reasons to be responsible and compelling statistics that validate their reasonable businesses do better according to traditional financial metrics. By accepting responsibility, we take effective steps towards our goal, an inclusive human society on a habitable planet, a society that works for all humans and for all non humans. By accepting responsibility, we move closer to creating a world that works for all. Thank you.